Good afternoon, good afternoon, good afternoon, my beautiful people. Today is still Monday, May 12th, 2025. Back with another episode. Thank y'all for tuning in. I need y'all to watch this video to the end. It's going to help some people because it helped me. And I believe it'll help you because a lot of y'all are in my shoes or were in my shoes, have came up in life thinking and feeling how I felt at one time about myself and about life. And this story I'm about to tell y'all, an old childhood story that I remember from when I was a kid in elementary school, preschool, called The Ugly Duckling. And I was just thinking, looking at my life today, reflecting back from my entire life, from my childhood on up until now, how much I relate to that story, how my life relates to that story, and how a lot of your lives relate to that story. And for those of you, because the modern day school system is trash, our education system is trash, so they probably don't even teach this in school no more. So for those of you who never heard of the story of The Ugly Duckling, I'm going to tell it to you right now. It's a condensed version. I don't have all day to read the whole story. I'm going to give you a condensed version of The Ugly Duckling. And then I'm going to apply it to your life and mine. And hopefully you may be able to get an understanding of the life and the way life had went for you and why and what was really going on. Now let me start out with the story. Once upon a time, on a lake, there was a duck who was sitting on her eggs. She had 6 of them. She only remembered laying 5, but somehow 6 eggs ended up in her nest. And as she sat there, the eggs started to hatch. 5 of them hatched first, and out come 5 yellow ducklings, chirping, 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 looking at their mother duck. And the mother duck looked at the other egg, it hadn't hatched yet. And she got worried a little bit about the other egg. And eventually, over the next few seconds, an hour, minutes, however long it took, the 6th egg hatched. But this duck didn't look like the other ones. This duck was gray, a dark gray with a black beak. Didn't look like the other ducks. And all the other ducks was looking around at that one duck. And they looked at each other. They all looked the same. Then they looked at that one. Didn't look like the rest of them. And all the other adult ducks were gathered around, and some other animals. And they all came to the conclusion and said at the same time, what's wrong with that duck? It don't look like the other ones. And the pig said, that is an ugly duckling. And doing what only a mother would do or could do, she spoke up for her child. And she said, that's not an ugly duckling. He's just different. And I love him all the same. you would not refer to my child as an ugly duckling. But by then it was too late, because the little duckling heard what everybody was saying. And his feelings were hurt from being called ugly. And even he noticed that he wasn't like the rest of them. He didn't fit in. He was an outcast. So much so that he started to hate himself, because he didn't fit in with everybody else. His other siblings, the other ducklings, they were all looking alike. They were the same. He was an outcast. He was different. He was the ugly duckling, as they had labeled him and named him. Because he was different. Didn't look like the other ones. Wasn't nothing like the rest of them. So far, does this story sound like End of Your Lives? It sounds like mine, but we're going to go into that in a minute. So this duckling was so hurt that he ran away. And he found some weeds and some bushes to hide out in. And he said, I will stay here for the rest of my life. I would never go back around the rest of my family and the others. I'm too embarrassed. I'm ashamed of how I look. I'm ugly. And I can't go back around them anymore. So he stayed there. And he hid. And time went on. It went from summer, fall, winter, spring, summer, fall, winter, spring. And a few years had passed. He hadn't came out of those weeds. He was hiding, didn't want nobody to see him, how ugly he was. But here it is, about the third or fourth spring then passed and came back around. And he looked out on the lake. He saw this big, beautiful white bird floating in the lake with a long, beautiful neck and a beautiful yellow beak. And it was the prettiest bird he had ever seen in his life. And he said to himself, as he was hiding in the weeds, I wish I looked like that. I wish I was as beautiful as that bird. And the bird stopped and heard him. And then the ugly duckling tried to hide. But it was too late. The white bird saw him and swam over to him. Said, hey, why are you hiding in the weeds? And he peeked out from amongst the weeds and said, hey, I'm ugly. I don't want nobody to see me. And then the white bird laughed. He said, why are you laughing? He said, you're not ugly. You're beautiful. You look like me. I look like you, but you're beautiful. I don't look like you. I'm an ugly duckling. And then the duckling looked down in the water and saw his reflection. Here he was, looking like the beautiful bird he's looking at. See, what had happened was an egg got mixed up amongst the ducklings. All along, he thought he was one thing, but he was something else. He was a swan and didn't know it. He went from being what he thought was ugly to growing up to being the most beautiful bird on the planet. A beautiful swan. Now, to us, to you, to me, I grew up as an ugly duckling. I grew up feeling out of place. I grew up feeling less than everybody that was around me because my life was different. I wasn't like the rest of them. See, my mother and father had abandoned me. I grew up with somebody that didn't look like me. I grew up with somebody that wasn't related to me. And I was looking at everybody else's life. And their life looked better than mine because, look at me, I'm an ugly duckling. I'm different from the rest of y'all. And I had many days I wanted to run away. I didn't like who I was. I thought something was wrong with me, not knowing I was just different. I was the ugly duckling. Follow me, can you relate? Did you grow up thinking something was wrong with you because your life was different? You looked different than everybody else. You were different than everybody else. And you were convinced by society that being different was something wrong with that. Something wrong with being different is what I was believing. And right now we got a lot of people that believe that as well as adults, so they go out of their way to try to fit in and be like everybody else instead of being themselves. Sometimes being yourself, not sometimes, all the time, being yourself is better than trying to be like everybody else. Because you never know how beautiful you are. While you sitting up looking at everybody else and comparing yourself, comparison is the thief of joy. You comparing yourself to everybody else thinking, well, I'm not like them, so I must be less than. They're better than me because I'm different. Could your difference really be your best asset? I grew up hating myself, doubting myself, not understanding myself. But God was walking right along with me the whole time, telling me, no, you're beautiful. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You good. You just how I created you to be. This is just what I wanted for you. But you got to hold on. I didn't listen. While God was telling me I'm wonderful, I'm great. Remember I told you he saved me in the pool when I was drowning? He was always there, cheering me along, telling me how great I was, how beautiful I was. All I could see is that I was different from everybody else. My circumstance, my life was different than theirs. My life was worse. I didn't have a mother or father. I was a little short, fat kid with titties. I was afraid to take my shirt off when it was gym time. Remember when they had shirts and skins when you played basketball? And organized at PE, whatever, they had shirts and skins, which means we didn't have uniforms. One group of boys take their shirts off, and the other group of boys keep their shirts on. That's how you know the difference between what team you was on. And I was so terrified to take my shirt off. Please don't let me get picked for skins, because I was fat with breastises as a little boy. And I used to get teased about that. I was an ugly duckling. Little short, fat kid with titties. And you know how cruel kids can be. Oh, I got teased a lot. That's why I'm funny now, and I'm the king of janking. Because I had to learn how to keep them off my ass. I had to learn how to jank back. I learned how to play the dozens. We didn't do the bullying when I came up. You had to fight back. So now I grew up with all those insecurities. Then all of a sudden, one summer, going from the 8th grade to the 9th, that little short fat kid with titties, I went from like 5'6", 5'7" in one summer. I went from being teased and talked about, laughed at. No girls wanted me. I was a nerd. I was a bookworm. Straight A student. But I was the ugly duckling. Oh, but that summer came. 8th grade going into the 9th. I remember it like yesterday. My whole life changed. I went from being an ugly duckling to a beautiful swan. Because over that summer, I went from being a short, fat kid. I shot up to 6'3" over the summer. That may not be your story, the way you shot up in height. And I lost all the weight. And I became ripped in one summer. You may have come into your swanhood in a different way. But when I went back to school, that following school year, my freshman year of high school, people didn't recognize me. The women, the little girl were looking like, who is that? Is that? No, that can't be. That? Yes, it's me. I had blossomed into a beautiful swan. And the rest is history. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you from that point on my life was easy. Life was great. No. Life was still hard. I still had my struggles. Still had my ups and downs. But now I saw life differently. I saw how. No matter how things are going for you right now, that does not define your total life or how it's always going to be. How many ugly ducklings are listening to me right now that just don't know you're a swan? You don't know you're a swan. Whitney. People talk about you. People don't want to be bothered with you. People don't like you. You're different. You're weird. You're strange. And I'm here to tell you, embrace it. Accept you for who you are. You don't have to be like everybody else, because maybe they're just ducks and you're a beautiful swan and you just don't know it yet, because you have not come into your season yet. You may be in your pre-swan phase of your life. Life is hard for you right now. You don't know who you are, what you're going to do, where you're going to be, how. You don't know. I'm here to tell you, if you keep on going, keep on living, keep on growing, keep on going, and at some point in time, I guarantee you, you will enter your swan stage. You will no longer be the ugly duckling that you thought you was, because you never was for real. You just didn't know who you was. You didn't know who you were, young lady, young man. You was not a duck. You just thought you was. All along, you was a beautiful swan in the making. All that hardship, all that stress, all that pain and suffering you went through was only preparing you to come into your glory later on down the road. You were being prepared like I was. Look at me now. A big, beautiful swan. When at one time I thought I was the ugly duckling. Can anybody relate to what I'm saying? Did you grow up throughout your life doubting yourself, hating yourself, not fitting in? You're not like everybody else. The other people don't accept you. They don't want you around them. Something wrong with you. You different. Not knowing your difference is what makes you great. You not being like everybody else is what makes you great. Being different is not a liability, but it's an asset. Embrace your difference. Embrace who you are. Be glad that you are who you are. You're not like everybody else. You're not an ugly duckling. You're a swan. That happen to be mixed up in a crowd that don't understand who you are. You don't even understand who you are. That's why I'm sent here, to tell you. Ain't nothing wrong with you, baby. You're not a duck. You're a swan. You just gotta grow up. That's all. That's all. You ain't no ugly duckling. You just a baby swan. Grow and embrace your magnificence. You're better than what you think you are. You are not your circumstance. You are not your current situation. Whatever you're struggling with right now is not your final story. It's not the end of your book. You're on chapter 3 right now. But the book does not say the end. It's not the end until you're in the ground. You are in the chicklet phase of becoming a swan. Keep going, ladies and gentlemen. Keep growing. Go through whatever you're going through. It's for a reason. It's to prepare you to become that magnificent, beautiful swan that you really are. Get it, got it good. Bye.